G'day, good evening, good morning, good whatever it is, wherever you are in the world. I'm Alan the Love Engineer, and welcome to tonight's episode of Love Engineering Live. Today I'm going to be talking with Darren J Brookes, who's just released his second book, I believe. I'm fairly sure it's second. He's nodding, so that's a yes.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking a little bit about his books, and we're also going to be talking a lot on masculine energy of all kinds. And this came about because we put various comments on various things online. This is the first conversation we've ever actually had, so it's going to be as interesting for us as it is for you. So over to you, Darren. Would you like to introduce yourself and share a little bit more about yourself, your story, and your books?
Yeah, cheers, Alan. Good to see you, man. Yeah, first conversation we've had, like you say, and looking forward to it. Yeah, I'm Darren Brookes. I'm a personal development coach, and I'm an author. Just released my second book in June, which is called 23 Rules of Life that most people don't want to hear because they don't want to hear a lot of them, but it's what we need to hear. And I think this book will really help people, Alan, to navigate through the madness and craziness of what is going on in the world at the moment, and probably more of, well, there's no probably about it, more of what's to come. I've worked in a rehabilitation unit, I worked in the wellbeing sector, and now focus on people, working with people to get the absolute best out of themselves. I also run a single dads group and another dads group. So a lot of work with men, a lot of female clients, but a lot of work in groups with men, which is quite exciting because I think masculinity is under a bit of attack. So I'm sure we'll touch on that there.
You have to send me a link to those groups because I've not heard of them.
Yeah, will do. Well, one's through a charity, one's through Alice Charity. That's a single dads group. That's a monthly meeting at the moment, but I ring the guys every Wednesday, so I've been ringing those guys today. But that is going to go to a weekly group in September. So I'm quite excited about that.
Beautiful. So your 23 rules of life. Is it just 23?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or just the 23 most important rules?
I'd say the 23 most important rules, Alan. Yeah, dwindled it down. Then it was 21. And there was two more that just had to go in there, so it ended up 23, like a bit of a random number, but one that sticks in the brain, I think. So
absolutely.
Somebody said it's got a very Jordan Peterson-esque to it. It said, yeah, but not as scholarly, like nowhere near.
But is it as divisive as some of the things he says?
Chances are some of the stuff in there, yeah, some of the stuff in there triggered a few people. What I did, where this came from, it came from everything that was going on, all the stuff that was going on in the world, and I was making notes and journaling, like, as I do quite regularly. And it was, I think Zuby put out, Zuby, the British rapper, and he spoke a lot about what was going on with COVID, put out a thing that was, I think it was like 12 things that was taken from the pandemic. And I thought, I'm going to piece all these things together and put them out as social media posts. So I posted one a day for 23 days. And then it started turning into a book, which was amazing, because that wasn't the book that what I was intending on writing, another book, but that wasn't the one I was intending on writing. And it came together really nicely, and it sort of just flowed, Alan. So it was meant to be.
So let's pick one of the rules, and as you mentioned, 21. We'll go with rule 21, which I believe is having good role models and being very selective of the people that you have hanging around you.
Yeah, rule 21 is the people around you will determine the direction you're heading. I'm massive on that, massive on the right people being around you, people that are like-minded. These people haven't got to be the same as you. They haven't got to have the same goals as you by any means, but they've got to be driven, and they've got to have, I suppose, the same ethos, the same ethics, the same morals. That you want people around you that are really going to bring out the best in you, to push you out of your comfort zone, and that you can rely on. A lot of people one of the feedback that I got from that was a lot of people, well, I haven't got the right people around me. I've got people around me that are draining me or not bringing out the best in me. My suggestion then is, well, watch people, listen to people, read about people.
Yeah.
You can have those people around you. You don't necessarily physically need them people around you. And, as we both know from what we do, that as soon as you start working on yourself and you start becoming the person you want, those people start coming to you anyway. You'll attract those people at a later date. So it's not to worry if you haven't got those people around you now, but work towards the best thing is be the person of the people that you want around you, whether in a relationship, whether as a friend. If you've got no good friends around you, be that good friend. Become that person that you want as a friend. Become that person that you want as a partner. That's the only way to do it. That's when you're going to attract the right people into your life, when you become that person.
Yeah, so you get a lot of people saying, why can't I attract the right person? Well, why are you looking for the right person? Be the right person first.
Yeah.
Then you're vibrating on the same energy level, same frequency. Because if that's out of alignment, you're never going to meet them.
No, never. No, and one of the things I'm sort of writing about in this new book and covered a bit in 23 Rules of Life, that I've been that person that I want to be in a relationship. And if you've got that mindset that you want to be in a relationship, then that's the last thing you need at that time. You need to do some work on yourself.
Yeah. I was that man too, funnily enough. And that brings me on to something that's just come up for me. It's kind of connected to Rule 21 a little bit. And when I was rebuilding myself after my divorce and all that kind of thing, so I looked at the role models that I had.
Right.
And most of them went in the bin.
Yeah.
And it's like when I grew up, my biggest role model was my dad, which to a degree he still is.
Yeah.
But it's certain aspects of him.
Okay.
And I remembered what I heard from, what's his name, Steve Clark, the late guitarist in Def Leppard. He said, when people are learning guitar, they find a guitarist that they like, say Jimi Hendrix. They learn all of Jimmy's licks. They learn all of his songs inside out. Then they play, and it sounds just like Jimi Hendrix, which is great. But where's that unique individual personality? He says, if you take that bit from Jimi Hendrix, that from Jimmy Page, that from Metallica, that from Iron Maiden, put it all together and express it through yourself, then you have your own sound.
I love that.
I thought, does that work in life as well? Does that work with me? So then I learned NLP and modeling and all that kind of thing. So I did it again. And when I came to build myself up as a coach, I did it again.
Yeah.
And what I see a lot of coaches do, or just men in general, when they get into personal development, they look at Tony Robbins on the stage or whatever it is. What would Tony do? What would Tony do? What would Tony do? And then you see him in all the Facebook groups. Tony says. That's great. What do you say?
Yeah.
What do you say? Who are you that lives in that body?
Exactly. Yeah.
Is it masculine? Is it feminine? Which is it supposed to be?
I love it. Yeah, I love that. And you get that so much. And what you're doing is you're taking away from who you are by just echoing. At the beginning of your journey, I know, like Tony Robbins says, he completely modeled what Jim Rohn did, and then he started finding himself. But the amount of people out there that you take all these different influences, you throw them inside, because nothing's new. Nothing that you say is new. There's nothing in this book that's new. It's what I've learned and taken in, and it's my personality stamp on it. That's exactly what it is. And you don't, like, I follow a guy, Andrew Tate, and I like certain things that he says, and certain things he says I really don't like. And people are like, well, I don't like him because he's this, that, and the other. And it's like, by saying that, you're missing these aspects of him that are really good. the real key things that he's giving on business. You're missing the things by just dismissing somebody. It's like, no, I don't like them. So it's taking what works for you, isn't it? And taking those little snippets of everything.
So talking of online, and I saw it come up in a couple of the comments following on from when we announced that we were going to do this, especially from your supporters and your followers. Dare I say those two words, toxic masculinity? Go.
Wow. You know, for start, those two words just don't go together.
No.
Those two words aren't two words at all that go together. I had a couple of backwards and forwards is on Facebook with people over this. That to me, that's like saying toxic motherhood. It's like saying toxic fatherhood. The two words do not go together. It's a made up thing by the media, and what it's done is it's made out as if these particular traits that a man's got are toxic. And I've worked with offenders, Alan, for a good few years, and some of those people have done some really bad things. And one of the themes that's running through a lot of these guys' lives is a lack of masculinity.
Yeah.
A lack, an absence of a positive male role model, whether that be a father, whether that be an uncle, whether that be a granddad, whether that be a family friend, whether it be an older brother, whatever that is. And the traits that they call toxic masculinity is some of the traits that these guys have displayed and in some cases horrifically followed through with: violence towards women, domestic violence, physical, sexual, and all of these, not all, no, most of these people have not got a positive male role model. So what they're calling toxic masculinity, it's completely opposite. It's an absence of. They've not got anybody to look, and that's how to be a man. This is what a man is. This is what a man does. Maybe they've had a really, really bad role model who they've seen hitting somebody, whether it be the mother, and then taking that on and taking that into relationships herself. But it's just a bullshit term made up by the media, with no thought behind it. I don't think at all.
Either that, or there's a lot of thought behind it, and it's used intentionally to divide us. But that would be another soapbox for another day.
Yeah, we could delve into that, and people might think we're a bit crazy. But yeah, the male role has been diluted over the years. Zuby came out with a great quote and said that at some point we were told that we didn't need men and fathers, and people believed it, and they were now living in that society for those people that listened to that and took that on board, whether consciously or whether unconsciously. And we're living in a society where you don't need a man. Yes, you do. I see one of the things, and this might piss a few people off, but one of the things that see on Mother's Day as on Father's Day, happy Father's Day to me for doing both jobs. No, you haven't done both jobs. You've done one job. You've done the mother's job. Yes, you might have taken responsibility as a sole parent, but you've not done the job as a man. You've done the job of a woman, and you might be doing an absolutely amazing job of a woman, but you're not doing the job of a man. You're not doing the role that a man is there to do, whether that be as a son, as bringing a son up, or whether that be as bringing a daughter up. You're either showing your son what it means to be a man, or you're showing your daughter what a man does and how a man should look after you. And you're not doing those two roles at all. You're doing one role, and to give yourself a pat on the back for doing a father's job is completely discrediting what a man does. Yes, you might have had a bad experience, and that's understandable. And I'm big, and I know people aren't big, but I am big on a complete accountability now, Alan. I haven't always been, where if I've chose to go in a relationship with a woman and that relationship's gone tits up, yes, it might be that this person's done X, Y, and Z, but I will take responsibility that I saw those red flags and I ignored them or swept them under the carpet because the sex was good, or because when the person was nice, they were nice, or because they'd had a troubled past. I saw the red flags and ignored them. And most people do that, but then don't take any responsibility for that. It's all the other person's fault. It's his fault because he did this. It's her fault because they did that. But it's your fault for staying there long enough for that to happen in the first place. Whether you want to acknowledge that or not, that is the case. So patting yourself on the back for doing both jobs because you chose a potential partner that wasn't a good one for you does not mean that there's not an amazing person out there for you.
Absolutely. I've completely lost my train of thought now. No, so what I was going to say, is really mums and dads bring different things to the child.
Of course.
As when I look back at how I was raised and how my kids' mum raised my kids, even though there are a lot of things that we don't see eye to eye over, which is a whole nother story. And also girlfriends I've dated since and seen how they've interacted with their kids and my kids. And there's a lot more loving and nurturing from the women.
Yeah.
And then for me, I'm kind of standing back a little bit more. I can see a potential thing going to happen, but I also see a lesson coming.
Yeah.
And I let them make those mistakes. It's the hardest thing to watch, but to see them get the lessons and not repeat them, it's amazing.
Yeah, you know, me and Ellie's mum haven't been together for a good few years now, and she spends equal time with both of us. Guaranteed, you know, she's 15 now, and she will tell you this, that when she's not very well, she prefers being around her mum's house. Her mum is more caring in that way, a little bit more considerate, a lot more patient. There's a video that she showed me, and we had a really, really good laugh about it, where the daughter goes in the room and says, "I'm not very well," and the mum sits up as, "What?" And she gets a cloth out and she starts putting a cloth on the head. "Are you all right? Come on, sit down, I'll get you." And the dad sits up, obviously. "There's some paracetamol downstairs in the cupboard." And we laughed about that because they are the gender roles. We live those gender roles. Her mum is exactly like that, and I'm like that. And then there's other times where Ellie will much more prefer come to me and speak to me about certain things, rather than speak to her mum, and that's okay. We're sort of led to believe in society that's not how it should be, and it's wrong. I am going to be a lot more attentive to certain things than a mum is, and a mum's going to be a lot more attentive to certain things that she needs that she is, and we're trying to make out that's not the case. We can all do everything. We're all good at everything, and we're not. You know, that's completely devaluing what the other gender role can offer. We're completely devaluing it by saying that we can do both jobs, because we can't.
Yeah. Years ago, they used to say, it takes a village to raise a child.
Right.
And there's a lot of truth in that.
Yeah.
Because when your child's out playing with their friends' parents should be keeping. Your mum wouldn't or dad wouldn't like you doing that, would they? No, oops. But that doesn't happen so much anymore. It's like, never mind having mum and dad working together to raise child. Now it seems to be one or the other. I can do both.
Yeah.
And then wonder why we're stressed. And wonder why we're knackered.
Definitely.
And wonder why we don't always have the support, because we won't let anybody help us.
100%. And it's sad when, you know, that other role isn't there. You get that with some of the single dads I work with, and you get that with some mums. But then you will find that a lot of the time, not all the time, that somebody will slide into that role. So the single dads that I work with, it might be that they've got a new partner, because a lot of these single dads, not all of them, something traumatic has happened, whether it be substance misuse, whether it be social services intervention, or whether it be death. Something has happened that they've got sole custody of the children, and a lot of the times the mums aren't in the picture. Not all the time, but somebody else, whether it be a new partner or mum, is fulfilling the female aspect of that role. They're not being a mum. They're not being a mum because the mum's not there, but they're fulfilling that role in some way, shape, or form. And you see it the other way around with mums, that whether it be the granddad or whether it be an uncle or something, somebody is in that role. I think the problem is when there's nobody there to show that role. There's nobody to show them what it means to be a good woman. There's nobody showing what it means to be a good man, and it's needed. You know, you cannot sweep that under the carpet and pretend that it's okay that child doesn't grow up with a female and a male role model in some way, shape, or form. In my opinion, it's completely necessary. It's paramount.
So while we're talking masculinity and all these kind of things, when I was out in the Aussie outback, I got talking to a couple of the Aboriginal guys,
Right.
and happened to mention to them an article I read on the aeroplane on the way over, saying that all these Aboriginals are causing havoc and they're getting drunk all the time and partying. And I said, "Is that really happening? What's going on?"
Okay.
And they says, "Well, we used to have a culture. It's very different to what it is now, but then it's been squashed out, taken away. We also used to have initiations into the tribe,
Right.
so that when a young man gets to a certain age, he goes through a few challenges and gets to prove to himself now he's a man, and he becomes part of the tribe. And as part of the tribe, he gets to keep an eye on all the other guys and make sure they live up to that standard. And they do that for him as well. And that appears to be very much missing in the world today."
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, it's somebody said when I put the post up the other day, it was to do with a male suicide post, which we know is a real big problem at the moment. And the post was about so if being open and honest and being able to talk to people is the answer to men's struggles at the moment, then why, when we live in a society now where the stigma is with mental health is a lot better, it's a lot better than it was, people can talk a lot more openly, then why are suicides on the increase and not declining? And a couple of people commented on that post, and some people messaged me individually who didn't really want to stay on there. And one of the guys who messaged me works in the police force. And one of the things he spoke about, he did speak of a couple of things, is the community aspect of going to a sports club or a working men's club, or going around the neighbours' houses and getting together. It is not gone, but is really, really not as prominent as it used to be. With the Aboriginal tribes, like you say, that you'd go around and you're in both a masculine and a feminine environment. You've got the guys round. One of the things with my daughter, rightly or wrongly, and I've got two brothers. The piss takers, we rip into each other, and from a young age, they'd be giving her like a little bit of banter and grief. And when she was very young, she'd get upset by it. But as she's got older, she just gives it some right back. She's not bothered. Yeah. These things are just bouncing off her. So when somebody at school is saying something the same, she's not bothered. It's water off a duck's back, because she's grown up in an environment where she's got two uncles that take the mick, and they still do it. But the difference is now she gives it them back 10 times worse than they give it to her. And yeah, things like that are missing, and also when things like that are there, we're kind of told that you shouldn't say this, you shouldn't do that, you've got to be politically correct, and you can't do this and you can't do that. It's like, well, you can do what the hell you want, as long as you feel that you are being a good person, then you can do what you want to be. It's not about being nice, it's about being good. One of the chats I'm writing at the moment is, the whole thing of nice guys finish last. It's not the nice guys that finish last. It's the people pleasers. It's the appeasers. It's the people that are bowing down to everything. It's not about being a nice person. It's about being a good person. But yeah, I'm going off on a bit of a trail here. But yeah, that is missing. That community thing really is missing. And I would presume that some cultures have got it and some cultures haven't. And I would say that maybe a lot of the tribes still probably have got that. And for us, it's lacking, which could be one of the elements of why male suicide and things like that are on the rise. I think just from listening to certain people, just being a man is in some ways something to be scared of. Can I say that? Can I do that? And some men are living in a box. They're living in a little bit of a box where they don't do this, they don't do that. They don't say certain things because of HR, really strict HR policies and stuff.
Yeah, you can't even look at a woman certain ways, otherwise it's sexual harassment.
100%. And what I find from my experiences of the people that haven't got those constraints and are maybe their own boss or maybe doing different things, are a lot happier doing what they're doing because they have got that more freedom element to be who they are. And that's not to be nasty and to be condescending or in any way to people, but to just be open and be who you are, be who you are.
I think in some ways, the way society is set up is so that we all fit the same box.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work that way. School's a great example. You've all got to learn the same way, learn this, learn that, which is great. But 90% of what I learned at school, I haven't used.
Yeah.
And my favorite way of learning is by using my hands.
Right.
Doesn't work with maths quite so well once you get past 10. But the CDT and physics and stuff where I got my hands in and got to do stuff, I got better grades. I learned more.
Yeah.
But then you come out into the big wide world and you go and work for a company. This is how we work. This is what the box you've got to fit in.
Definitely.
I don't fit that box, but I've still got a mortgage to pay. Oh shit, I'll take it anyway.
Yeah.
And then I haven't got a courage to leave.
Definitely. I had probably the reverse of that, I think, Alan, really. I was, and still do, I hate DIY. And when I was younger, from picking up that limiting belief that you weren't a man if you couldn't, I don't know, get a load of stuff together and make something. I actually enjoyed CDT, and making things, but I hate fixing shit. Absolutely hate it. And 5-6 years ago, I accepted that. I didn't need to do that. It's to concentrate on what my strengths are, knowing who you are, and knowing that you don't need to do that. You don't need to be able to do these things that other people can do, and you don't need to be the same as these other people, because exactly as you just said, Alan, we're all completely different. We're all that unique, and they're trying to, as Joe Rogan put it, trying to put a triangular peg in a square hole, and wondering then why these mental health problems and everything come crashing down, because we're trying to fit in this box that's not meant for us. We can't fit in.
Yeah. You can fit a triangular peg in a square box. The triangle's very, very short, and there's a lot of gaps around the side, so you're never going to be fulfilled.
Yeah, I like that. I love that. Yeah, it's quite. And I think that is one of the big things for me male suicide. Yes, I do think that that some men do feel they can't. I suppose, you know, I'm quite lucky in the sense that I've worked in environments where it was encouraged to speak, and the rehabilitation unit, not in the kitchen. You know, I worked in the kitchen years ago, but from coming from there in an environment where you could talk, and luckily got friends around me that we can speak to each other. But from my own experience, I can only speak from my own, as the people I work with, men are a lot more willing to open up and stuff. But that doesn't mean they feel fulfilled. And in some cases, they can open up about something, but there's not necessarily a solution there to that problem. One of those things being parental responsibility. They can talk about it as much as they want, but if they can't see the kids, then you know, that has driven a lot of suicide. That's not from the holding these emotions in and not speaking to them. Spoke about it, but it's gone against them. It's they've fought in court, and they ran out of money.
Yes.
Well, again, that's a whole other topic that we could talk about.
That is a whole other topic, and we won't go into that one today. So let me hit you with another one, possibly in a similar box to toxic masculinity.
Okay.
What's a real man?
Wow. I think a real man is somebody who is who they are. They've got morals, they've got values, and they will live within those morals and values, whatever they are. For me, a big one is speaking up, not shrinking your voice. I've done that in the past, and it's never worked for me, funnily enough. So being a man is to be that person that you know you are. It's to, you know, the three key things: the protector, the provider, and the procreator. You're not going to be all of those all at the times, and that can cause problems for people. You're not, if you've just broke both your legs, you're not going to be the protector, and you're not going to feel like the protector. If you've just lost your job, you're not going to be the provider at that time. And some men sadly can't have children, so they may not be the procreator. That doesn't mean you can't adopt. That doesn't mean you can't foster. But you're not going to be all of those things all at the same time, all the time. But they're the three key pillars, really. And I think living within them as much as you can. Protect the people close to you. Protect your sons, your daughter. Protect your partner. Be the provider. Provide the life, not necessarily just financially. Provide the knowledge that your children need to grow up. Provide the example is the big one. One of the rules in there, you know, I don't know off the top of my head, is that your children will watch what you do more than they listen to what you say. So be that example. Be the person that my daughter can turn around and go, my dad's a great dad. Be that person. And you know, you're not always going to do that right all the time. You're gonna slip and you're gonna fall a couple of times, but it's about getting back on the horse and doing what you know needs doing. You know, we're both coaches, and I get this, that most of the people who come to me, they know, Alan, exactly what they need to be doing, just not doing it. Sometimes it's digging those answers out, but I believe that we all know we've just got to dig deep. You know what you should be doing. You know if you're being a shit dad. You know if you're being a shit partner. You know if you're being a shit boss, and you also know when you're doing those things well. So be honest with yourself. Be brutally honest with yourself. Am I living up to my potential in these key areas of my life? And if you're not, then you know you're not being a man. You're not being the person that you're meant to be. And that's what it's all about. It's being the best version of yourself as much as you can in all those areas of life, if you can. And if you're not doing that, then do something about it. Do something about it. Step up and be a man, because at some point you've got to, because there's people and you know, a lot of these guys that are struggling with the mental health or stuff, there's people that are relying on you no matter what. And you may not think that. You may not think that one of your friends is looking at you as the example, because there's always, no matter how you're feeling, there's always somebody that's feeling worse, and there's always somebody that's watching you and following your lead. So be the best lead that you can. Doesn't mean you're not going to struggle, but you will get through it. You will get through it. There's the amount of people I know that you know, have been in a really, really shit situation that 2 years down the line, the whole life's changed. Completely different person. So sometimes it's just riding that wave, and that's not by any means to take anything from that being tough. But ride it because there's people depending on you.
Yeah, because when I look back over my journey and sort of where I was at 10, 12 years ago, and the business I had at the time was barely making a part-time income off working full-time.
Yeah.
I got a house I couldn't afford to live in, but couldn't afford to sell.
Yeah.
I was fighting to see my kids, and it's like, I got all these phone calls trying to get money out of me that I didn't have. I was like, what do I do?
Yeah.
And I was in a right mess. But now, very different place.
Yeah.
I've got an amazing girlfriend. I've got most weekends for the last 10 years I've had the kids, and every Christmas, most summer holidays. It's a bit touch and go at times now, but we're working on it.
Yeah. Amazing.
It's work in progress.
Yeah. And we always are, aren't we, Alan? That's the thing. I think what's, another thing that sort of comes a lot from society is that we're meant to strive all the time for happiness, and we fluctuate, our emotions fluctuate a lot. Women's more so than us, but ours do as well. Men's emotions fluctuate a lot, and there was no one ever said that you should be happy all the time. You shouldn't. You're going through. You go through these tough times, but it's happiness is a sort of collaboration of all these things put together. And if something is not necessarily going right, look at that area and okay, what can I do to change this? What can I do? Not what can anybody else do? Because a lot of the times people really struggle when they're focusing on things that you've got no control over at all. So bring it back down to the basics. What can I control?
What can I do with what I've got right now?
Yeah.
And it's when I was in that dark place, I'd look at my friends and say, I'd wish I was like them, or this, that, and the other. On one hand, then on the other hand, it's like I got up and I made progress today.
Yeah.
It may only be one step or 3 forward, 2 back, doesn't matter. Still progress. And it's still a lot more progress than I'd have made if I'd have stayed in bed, which I wanted to.
Yeah. And that's another big one as well. Which another conversation, but a lot of the time, it's doing these things that we don't want to do. And I would love to just stay in bed every day. Most days I don't want to get up, in all honesty, but the alarm goes off, I'm up, I'm out of bed, straight out the house for a walk. And more often than not, I don't want to do that. But the feeling I've got then from doing that and getting back in the house, starting my day off to the best possible start. And one of the things they say with depression and stuff, that you can't get out of bed, and I don't buy that. You can. You really, really, it's hard to get out of bed, but you can get out of bed. And if you do, one thing I can promise you is, if you do get out of bed and you do get out of the house and you just have a walk around the block, you will feel better, no doubt about it. There's no doubt in my mind that you will feel better, even though you don't want to do that. And a lot of the time, not some of the time, it's doing these little things that we don't want to do that contribute to us being in a good place and our life heading in a direction that we want it to go in.
Yeah, so every little brick you put in a wall eventually makes a house.
Yeah, I like that 100%.
If I can't put this one brick there because I'm tired or I can't be bothered, you'll never have a house. Even if it's just one brick a day, you got more chance of getting there than no bricks.
Yeah, you're building, but you're building slowly, but you're building.
Yeah. Otherwise, you beat yourself up for not building.
Exactly. Yeah. Which is where a lot of that internal struggle comes from, isn't it? Because like we said, you know what you should be doing, you're just not doing it.
Yeah. And that could be for a million reasons why. And again, that could be another talk for another day. So I've certainly enjoyed this today.
Been great, Alan. Yeah, been great.
We'll have to do it again sometime.
100%, mate. 100%.
Right, so that's today's talk on masculinity and all sorts of other things with Darren Brookes. And if you want to drop links to your books in the comments on my timeline underneath, then, and also for your men's groups, and we'll go from there.
Great stuff, Alan. Great catch up, mate. Appreciate that.
Likewise. I'll catch you again soon. Bye for now.
Take care, mate.